to the very last session of Retreat Migraine. I hope that you've all enjoyed all of the other sessions thus far, and I think that you're really going to enjoy this one. My name is Megan Busby. I'm the Director of Advocacy with CHAMP, and I am joined tonight by many people, many of whom are CHAMP participants and represent organizations that have a lot of different programs and opportunities for you to get involved in advocacy. Advocacy has been referenced a couple times throughout the retreat, and it does mean a lot of things. And Kevin said it earlier today, and Michelle Tracy said it in the alumni panel on the first day, that it's much broader than just fighting for policies. We really here in the migraine community embrace the fact that there are many different ways that you can get involved with advocacy, and that are not maybe as intimidating as going to Capitol Hill and meeting with a member of Congress. And so I am honored to be joined today by all of the people that are here with us tonight to share their programs with you. And I am going to kick it off with Lindsay V, the Executive Director for the Headache and Migraine Policy Forum, who is going to give us some brief remarks on why advocacy is so important.
Thank you so much, Megan, and thanks to everyone who's spending their time today and tonight to learn from these amazing organizations. I'm Lindsay Videnieks, the Executive Director of the Headache and Migraine Policy Forum. I am a proud member of CHAMP. We work very closely together along with a lot of the great partner groups you're about to hear from tonight. So I just wanted to kick it off and just make a couple quick high-level remarks about why it matters that you advocate and why no matter what you choose to do, it will move the needle and make a difference. Number one, it's destigmatizing. So if you are speaking to a colleague or a friend, your coworker, family members, you're actually advocating. You are destigmatizing your disease. The more you speak about your disease, the more it reduces some of those barriers that people have about acknowledging migraine as such a burdensome disease. I had a conversation earlier today in one of the lobby forums where somebody made the comment and said, you know, I started one event and I think they worked on their resolution in their state capitol and it led to something else. And it can really, one conversation can lead to more activity. So that's the first thing I want to say to folks. The second part, and for anyone who has joined Headache on the Hill, and you'll hear a lot more about that from Katie MacDonald, when you advocate, you help to increase likely the amount of federal research funding that goes to help understand and study our disease. And so this is to advocate for more research dollars. It's to make sure that more treatments can be developed and that there's a better understanding of the disease globally. One of the things that Headache and Migraine Policy Forum is perhaps most focused on is the reduction of barriers from insurance companies for migraine disease. So HMPF in particular works to talk to health insurance commissioners, to payers and other policymakers about how to reduce access challenges, including things like step therapy or prior authorization or the lack of combination therapy, for example. And so when you choose to advocate and get plugged into one of these partner groups, you also are helping not just yourself as an insured person, but other folks who are covered under that policy. So there's a larger effect. It's a ripple effect to your advocacy. There's an opportunity to advocate for everyone. So I don't want to use an election metaphor because I think we're all particularly burnt out on that, but it really is a campaign approach. So there's a lot of tools in the toolbox that we use to help advocate. And so whether you're not comfortable, going to be either in person or on Zoom, or if you say, okay, you know what, maybe I just want to talk about my story and write it down. Maybe you want to author an op-ed or, provide your narrative. the community will find a role for you to play. And so if you're more comfortable, with some of your set of skills, and that happens to be more direct advocacy versus sort of a social media approach, we will help matchmake that opportunity for you. So please use tonight to feel empowered for what you are able to do. The last thing I will mention, I want to make a plug for our social media and online presence. I hope everyone goes to our website, which is headache-migraineforum.org, and go under the resources tab, which has a lot of our infographics, and then the advocacy tab. That's the home where you will find a lot of direct advocacy opportunities, whether it was ICER in the past or if it is a CMS survey that we are undertaking right now. And then find us on social media at Headache Policy, both on Twitter and Facebook. And thank everyone for being here tonight.
Joe Coe is up next. He's the Director of Education and Digital Strategy with the Global Healthy Living Foundation.
I was really excited, Lindsay. You are an inspiring person and really appreciate your advocacy. What a time to be alive to advocate. I think a lot of us just advocated by voting. No matter who our preferred candidate was, we exercised something fundamental in our democracy, which is the right to vote. And at the 50 State Network and GHLF, we believe that there are ways to flex our democracy muscles every day in different ways. We can vote in different ways by engaging with our elected officials, by sharing our stories. As a migraine patient, I understand how important it is for us to be heard, for the invisible to be made visible, and for us to really show that we want to live full, happy lives that are unburdened by this horrible disease that impacts us, our families, and our careers. So the 50 State Network was built to give patients a way to raise their hand and give voice to support healthcare reforms around the country. Through it, we interact with legislators and regulators at the state and federal levels. Through comment letters, we meet with legislators. We did a whole program around tele-advocacy, which I'll talk about in a second, and doing virtual briefings. And you could find us on the 50statenetwork.org. So COVID happened, as everyone knows, and it really made us pivot our advocacy. So what we decided to do was use technology, something as GHLF, a digital organization. We don't have brick and mortar nonprofit buildings. We don't do very many physical events. We were always very digital, and we started that through an organization called Creaky Joints in the arthritis community. So what we did was we conducted these virtual meetings with our legislators through Zoom. We asked state and federal legislators, how are you talking to your constituents? They still want to talk to constituents. They still want to feel connected to us. So we found out that they were setting up teleconferences and Zoom meetings. So we were able to help train our advocates in the 50 State Network, which is a free program to join. Anyone can join. Actually, if you join today, within the next 24 hours, anyone that joins can be entered to win a $25 gift card for Amazon. You can go to 50statenetwork.org to join. We individually reached out to over 5,000 state and federal legislators around the country to share how COVID was impacting our community and the resources that we developed on ghlf.org. We remain committed to being active in the federal and state laws and regulations. In the first 9 months of 2020, we submitted over 50 comment letters, and those are letters that range from supporting a piece of legislation to raising awareness about an issue to making sure that we are being heard. Our director of advocacy contributed a piece to the Doctor Weighs In to discuss the shortfalls of certain healthcare executive orders. We were looking at what really impacts our community, and we wanted to make sure that folks had access to all of the treatments and therapies that they needed while COVID was impacting their lives. Something that I was really excited about was that we were able to do, and we worked with Lindsay and the National Headache Foundation and the American Migraine Foundation and others to put together a training guide to help teach patients how to utilize technology to remain in contact with their legislators. That's what I was talking about earlier. It was a really, really powerful way for folks to feel connected, both the legislator and me, the individual or you, with the people that we elect to represent our needs. And that's something that we tell our community over and over and over again. We often don't feel empowered to raise our hand and share our experience and say, you know what, this is who I am and this is what I live with. We say that it is important to be able to do that, to be able to advocate, and tele-advocacy has been a really, really powerful way to do that. And thank you, Lindsay, for being a great partner in that effort. With that, my time is up. I know that there's a lot of people that are speaking, and I actually have to go advocate in another way, so I'll be hopping off on our local planning board, and that's something that we tell our migraine members of the 50-state network: get involved in your local community. Let your local elected officials know who you are. If it's letter writing, if it's writing a letter to your newspaper, if it's trying to join local boards or being involved in nonprofits, or even signing petitions, whatever you're able to do at home is valuable and important. And again, to join, you can go to 50statenetwork.org. Thank you so much, Megan, and everyone at CHAM.
Next up, we have Katie MacDonald, the Director of Policy for the Alliance for Headache Disorders Advocacy, or AHDA, as you may know them.
So I am here tonight to talk to you about AHDA's big event, which is called Headache on the Hill. This is an annual advocacy event that was founded in 2007. And the goal of this event is to bring together providers, researchers, patients, caregivers, to come to DC and educate Congress about the need for equitable resources for people living with headache disorders. The Alliance for Headache Disorders Advocacy is an alliance with 13 member organizations, including CHAMP. So to talk to you a little bit about what is Headache on the Hill, it's typically an annual 2-day advocacy event in DC. So we bring advocates together in person in DC, and we provide you with a day of training on advocacy and training specific to whatever the ask is that we're going to be presenting to Congress that year. I will say, as Megan referenced at the beginning of this presentation, this is a pretty exhausting experience. It's probably not the best advocacy event for somebody that's just starting out and getting into advocacy, but more something to aspire to. It's, you know, to get involved in advocacy does not mean you have to talk to Congress, as Megan and so many others have shared. This experience, you spend 2 days, you know, it's nerve-wracking, it's a little bit stressful, there's a lot of walking around. I'm making it sound horrible, but I will now turn and say it will also be one of the most amazing experiences you've ever taken part in. It was life-changing for me. The first time I went, I was just like, oh my God, this is what I want to do with my life. I want to be more involved in advocacy. So you never go at it alone. We always make sure that when you're doing your visits with members of Congress, you're paired up in teams, ideally teams that have a combination of people who are first timers and people who have been before. And even more ideally, the teams are comprised of both patients and providers, so that you can share a story from 2 different perspectives. It is an event that you have to apply for, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later on. So Headache on the Hill, as I said, started in 2007, and that first event had 45 participants, and only 4% of them were patients. We represented 29 states and visited about 25% of the congressional offices. In 2020, last year, we had 173 participants and 70% of them were patients. So this is a huge testament to how much our advocacy community is growing and how many more patients are getting involved in advocacy, which is what we need to see. Last year, we represented 45 states and visited 42% of the congressional offices. So you might be wondering, what kind of things do you guys do in DC? What are you talking about? Typically, our asks are in working with various federal agencies, either to increase funding, increase awareness about migraine and headache disorders, or work to change policies to be more favorable towards people living with migraine and headache disease. One of our biggest accomplishments to date has been work targeted with the NIH. Back in 2016, we drafted a bill that was actually signed into law. We also helped with drafting writing another bill that provided the funding for that initial bill that was signed into law. We've worked with the Department of Defense, with Veterans Affairs. All of these agencies have separate budgets that help contribute to the overall research budget for migraine. We've been working with CMS for many years on an issue to get oxygen covered for cluster headache patients, and more recently have really kind of turned up the heat on the Social Security Administration, trying to make for more equitable policies for those of us who need to apply for disability insurance. Just this past August, we made a little bit of progress with SSA in issuing a ruling that helps explain this more. We are continuing to work with CMS, continuing to push on the Social Security Administration. A great outcome that we had just in this August, based on Shirley Kessel's relationship with her member of Congress, who is the vice chair of the Bipartisan Women's Caucus. Representative Dean held a educational roundtable and included representatives from our community to talk about the impact of migraine disease and women's health. Representative Dean also, with help from Lindsay and Shirley and Alliance for Headache Disorders Advocacy, recently drafted a resolution expressing the support of September as Pain Awareness Month and recognizing the disproportionate impact that migraine has on women. So how do you get involved? Headache on the Hill 2021, lots of big news here. We are actually going to be having a virtual event this year, so the need to travel to DC is eliminated for the first time, which should make this more accessible for many of you. The event will be on Tuesday, March 23rd, with training happening the day before, and we will be opening up the application process in mid-December. So if you're interested in getting involved in the Alliance for Headache Disorders Advocacy or possibly Headache on the Hill, I encourage you to sign up for our newsletter, which you can find on our website, allianceforheadacheadvocacy.org. There is also on the website, on the Take Action tab, you can reach out to your representative today to encourage them to support House Resolution 1160. And by signing up for our newsletter, you'll be the first to know when the application's open to attend Headache on the Hill. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Katie. Moving right along, our next presenter is Nim Lalvani, the Executive Director of the American Migraine Foundation. Welcome.
Hi, Megan. Thank you so much, and good evening to everyone who's joining here tonight. I am so thrilled to see all of the different opportunities that are being mentioned and how to get involved and be a part of advocacy. I especially want to highlight Lindsay's early comment about advocacy not meaning just one type of advocacy. It doesn't have to mean going to DC or speaking to your local congresspeople. It's really about immersing yourself with the right education and tools and resources and having credible conversations to influence your peers and family members. And that's really what AMF is here to talk about tonight, is if you're not necessarily ready to take that step into advocacy and you really want to learn how to be a more informed individual about migraine, or even have your friends and family be more informed about migraine, AMF is certainly trying to do that part for the patient community. We're rooted in mobilization of our community around migraine and other disabling diseases that cause severe head pain. And we do that through primarily education, awareness, advocacy support, and research. So one of the ways that the American Migraine Foundation thought about mobilizing the patient community to become advocates was to design the Emerging Advocates program. And this really was born out of the idea and recognition that patients sometimes feel like they don't know how to communicate about migraine, and they don't know what to say to friends and family about the migraine experience, and that their personal story may not be enough. Maybe they need to learn more about the facts. Maybe they want to know more about the biology of migraine, and then using your personal story and the facts and science about migraine to be an advocate for the community. So we've designed the Emerging Advocates program. And what we anticipate that this program will do is it'll strengthen the patient role to raise awareness about migraine and treatment options, to deliver on key tools and resources so patients feel equipped to have these conversations, and then also influence the community around you. So as I mentioned, advocacy is very much about raising awareness and very much of influencing your community with appropriate information and information based on facts and figures, in addition to your personal story. So how are we going to, do this Emerging Advocates program? Well, we want to connect the migraine patient community to the experts in the field. And so we've designed the program to roll out into 3 phases. The first phase is the application and learning phase. The application is still currently open on our American Migraine Foundation website under our Advocacy tab. And you can apply, and our planning committee of patient advocates will review your submission. Once you're accepted into the program, you'll go through the learning phase, which are 5 modules of learning about the pathophysiology and epidemiology of migraine, learning about the current advocacy landscape, learning about the importance of the language and how you speak about migraine and headache disorders, as well as preparing you on how to design your own advocacy project. The second phase, which will be in 2021, will be about having an advocacy facilitator talking to you about how you design your own advocacy project in your community, and you'll be put into patient groups to design and deliver on that project. And finally, the final phase is reporting back to AMF on what you learned about designing your advocacy project. What were the challenges? What were the barriers? And so AMF can take a look at your project and see how we can implement this nationally or on the ground through grassroots advocacy. So I just want to ensure that everyone understands that this program is still open for application. You can go to the AMF website for that program. It's really meant for the migraine patient who isn't sure if they want to be a part of advocacy, but feel like they need more information to be a better advocate. And if that's not your cup of tea, we also have an opportunity to become a migraine patient ambassador. You can read about that more on our advocacy website as well, or learn how to become a moderator in our patient community. And so, Megan, thank you to CHAM for inviting AMF to talk about this program, and really excited to share this news and hopefully see some of these names in our application.
Thank you so much, Nim. Next up, we have Jess Napier. She is CHAMP's very own social media director, and she's going to be speaking about the program that we have running called ECHO.
Thank you, Megan. And I am so inspired to see so many people on this session interested in advocacy skills and just the different ways to be in contribution. And so ECHO is a program that we launched earlier this year. And it's a program that we launched earlier this year. So it's the Education Council for Headache Online. You know, given the fact that we're in COVID and many of us are at home more, and then there's also the fact that this community is not new to being at home. So here is an opportunity to be an advocate from your home online, whether it's in via social media, blogging, or just being able to reach out to a reporter so that we can start to educate and advocate and inspire from our own homes. So ECHO 101 will give you, it's 18 sessions where you'll get skills to upskill, or maybe you're like, I'm not even at the upskill level yet. I just need the skills to start to learn best practices for moderating and managing online headache communities, tips and tricks for creating engaging content that cuts through digital clutter, because there's so much out there, how to take advantage of the Facebook and other social media algorithms. So, you know, there's a whole science and math about, you know, who sees what. So how to figure out, you know, how to get the content that we want everybody to see in front of those eyes. And then packaging and pitching stories and events for broader media. So if you're thinking, you know, is this for me? You know, well, you are the expert. Okay, so if you live with migraine disease, nobody knows about this better than you. So you are the expert. And you are and can be an online influencer. So an online influencer is somebody who can inspire, entertain, inform, and connect with followers. And who better to do that than somebody who has firsthand experience with this, right? Because otherwise the words are flat and they're not heartfelt. But if this is something you have lived through, it's so much more impactful. And it's why we need people like you in the ECHO program. So if you have asked any of these questions, then this is for you. So if you've asked, what are the best practices to deal with difficult comments and online conflict? And we've surely all seen those. How do I respond to suicidal conflicts or comments? So you might have been in a forum or a group and not known exactly what to say. So that will happen here. What do I need to do to make my social media content engaging? So what posts get noticed and what don't get noticed and why? How do I hack the Facebook algorithm? And how do I grab the attention of a news reporter? How do I pitch a story? And that might seem like a really big thing, but once you kind of have all the little pieces that you can put together, then you'll realize like all that's behind it is just heart and soul in your story. They want an engaging story. And so we'll be talking about that in ECHO. So here's some of the presenters over those 18 sessions. There's a different presenter in each one. Some of the presenters include Jenny Grovers. She runs Chronic Babe 101. Billy Dwyer, he's a licensed social worker, and his sister died by suicide after struggling with chronic migraines. This is a really powerful session. Tamika Felder, she runs a nonprofit in a different disease area, but still just a really great model to see what she's building and how she's doing her work. Marie is an expert on global trends in patient engagement, digital health, and participatory medicine. And then Nellie O'Brien is just a master storyteller, and we'll be talking about how to use your story to really hook people and get them to listen and be a part of that education. Here's just some of the things we'll talk about in those 18 common elements and best practices in establishing, sharing, and adhering to community guidelines. So if you're a part of a group, how do we agree on what's okay and what's not okay to do as a part of those groups? Guidance on recruiting, training, and managing new page admins and moderators. You can't do this all by yourself. We can't do this all by ourselves. How do we all be on the same page about it? Hacks and resources for cost-effective graphics and videos. You do not have to be a graphic designer. I am not a graphic designer. There's help out there. There's tools out there. And then how to build a media list, different types of media, and how the industry is evolving. So here is what would be required of you if you were to join ECHO. Bi-weekly, you would watch a recorded webinar. You would complete an assessment after each webinar. And then bi-weekly, you would attend a 30-minute virtual discussion on the topic that you watched. Okay, so there'd be a place to ask questions, dive deeper, get clarification. And then there is an ECHO Facebook group where we all kind of support each other in the initiatives that we're all pushing and ask questions and grow and learn from one another. Great. So this begins the 2021 class, because we just graduated the 2020 class of ECHO 101. The 2021 class will begin mid-January, and we are taking applications through January 8th. The application process is really just for us to learn about you and your relationship within this community. We're not looking for you to know and be an expert in anything at all. That's actually not the point. It's just for us to know who you are and what you're passionate about here. And so we will also follow up with a link to this so you can get the application. If you have any other questions, please reach out. We're really excited for this next year. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jess. And as Jess said, we will share that little link there, so no need to frantically write it down. And next up, we have Charrett-Dykes, the president of Chronic Migraine Awareness, Inc. Welcome, Kat.
Thank you. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I'm Charrett-Dykes. I am the president, founder, and CEO of Chronic Migraine Awareness, Inc. And today I'm here to talk to you about ARMS, our initiative, and it stands for Advocates Removing Migraine Stigma. And we would like to thank all of our generous sponsors for making this possible. So a little bit about myself. In 1995, I had my son after a difficult pregnancy, and I went to my first doctor after I knew things were not right. And he said, maybe your ponytail is too tight. And then the next doctor said, it's epilepsy. And then the third doctor said it was an anxiety attack. And it didn't get a proper diagnosis of chronic migraine until 2003. And by 2009, I had to quit my job. I felt like I was a burden. I had no purpose. And I was pretty much ready to just accept that this was my life. And then my daughter had her first migraine, and it changed my life. So it wasn't just about me anymore. You know, what kind of life did I leave her, you know, that she was going to end up with this kind of suffering? But also I was so sick. So what could I do? So I participated in a clinical trial for a peripheral nerve stimulator, and I decided to join in on Migraine and Headache Awareness Month, which is in June. And there were some days where I couldn't do anything other than share a graphic, but it was something. Okay, so the clinical trial that I was lucky enough to find made me want to become an advocate. I felt that if I could help just one person, then this was worth it. And it evolved from there. And just because I was homebound, it didn't mean that I had to be silent. I found ways to get involved from home, and I had the desire to make the difference. So people needed to support, but they also need to become aware about what migraine really is. And it's not just a headache. What is ARMS advocating? What is Advocates Removing Migraine Stigma? ARMS is a program designed to empower people with chronic migraine to advocate for themselves, the chronic migraine community, and to help end migraine stigma. By educating family, friends, coworkers, and providers, and the community at large, we can help put an end to ignorance surrounding the debilitating and isolating disease. There is no shame in migraine. Once you become an ARMS advocate, we will guide you through the process. This can include sharing graphic meme, patient stories, or informative article. And a lot of this you can do from your bed. Your voice is important and it matters. So we want you to get your voice out there. Hey, how to get involved? The very first step is easy. You're going to email Jen Heater. She's our director of ARMS, and then she's going to connect you with our Facebook group, and then you're going to get your ARMS kit, which is lots of fun stuff in there. These are some of the things that you're going to get. You'll get a rack card, pen, bracelet, and also you get an advocate card. This is a card that you'll be able to put your name on and pass it out to people. So our kits include fat cards, silicone bracelets, or pens. If you still feel that it's too much after all of this, and you think, I don't want to sign up for this, I don't want to join an advocacy thing, you can still go to our website and you can get these kind of things. You can download them off our website and you can just print them out yourselves and you can pass them out. Here are some of our ARMS members supporting CMA with Rally Against Chronic Migraine on our global CMA Day, June 29th, during Awareness Month, by bringing materials to their doctor's offices. If you're up to doing more, we host tents for Miles for Migraine races, which Shirley will tell you about later on in a little bit. And this past February, which seems like eons ago, we were with MacDonald and Headache on the Hill, and our ARMS members were there in DC. People met there with their state representatives to advocate for research for headache diseases. Now with COVID, as Katie said, this is going to be a virtual event, which is great news for us. Less spoons and more people to participate. So your politicians are there to serve you. Let them know what you need. There are many ways to advocate. It can be every day, it can be once a year, once a month. For some people, it will be from their bedside. For others, it might be in person. All that matters, all that matters is that you want to do it. You don't have to start a nonprofit. If you can share a pen or materials, you're creating awareness. We rally every time we refuse to let chronic migraine rule our lives, and it's time to fight back. Let people know that there's more to chronic migraine than just a headache. And you can start right now by liking our pages on Facebook. That's it. I'm happy to answer any questions or give purple hair tips. Thanks for your time, and I hope to see that you'll join your arms and advocate for chronic migraine. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kat. Next up, we have Shirley Kessel, the Executive Director with Miles for Migraine.
Hi, thanks, Megan. Good to be with you all this evening. So I just want to start by saying that we're all talking about advocacy, and one of the things that Miles for Migraine is a proponent of is asking clinicians to prescribe advocacy as part of the treatment plan for patients, because we are not really moving the needle as much as we could. We're doing a great job, but we could be doing a little bit more as a community. So Miles for Migraine, we unfortunately due to COVID, we had to not have live events this year, and we do have live events. That's basically the premise of everything we do, is in a live forum. And that's one of the reasons, is because we want to be able to create a community of people that can come together, that can be supported, that can feel supported, people can have fun together at our walk, run, and just relax events. And also, these are all the roads that lead to advocacy. And we are of the belief that we need to have digital presence and we need to have live presence. And this year we had to obviously go to all digital, but we are planning to go back to live events as soon as we can. So here's a look at some of our current events this year. We do have walk, run, just relax, also known as races. We had 24 of those this year. We will have 24 at the end of the year. We have 18 education events that are all virtual, and you can join at any time. We do have a virtual support group, and I know that some of our support group leaders are on this webinar this evening. And we did start a series called Mindfulness for Migraine, which is part of a self-care plan. And we really do believe that education is just as important as self-care for your treatment plan. We just launched a new program called Advocacy Stories. We encourage you to sign up for our newsletter or go to our website, and you can actually submit your advocacy story, and hopefully we might actually be able to publish it. In the future, we will be going to MSL-led education events. That MSL is a medical science liaison that works for pharmaceutical companies, and they are usually PhDs and have a lot of education, and they supply education in migraine and headache disorders. We also have a youth program, and a lot of people don't know that about Miles for Migraine, but we do support teens and parents, and we do have educational events for families. We also have a program called Teen Talks, where kids can get together, and it's a facilitated group led by a social worker. They meet other teens, and they actually do also learn about advocacy. And they also have the opportunity to partake in social events. So where are we running off to next? And we do actually plan to, when we say we're running off to, we do like to talk about movement. We do think that it's an important part of a treatment plan is to have some sort of movement program. But we're going to be running off to introducing local chapters in cities. It's probably not going to happen until it could be the middle of next year. It could be towards the end of the year. It's something that we're trying to work on. We'd like to have the opportunity to offer it in any city. And we right now we only go to 24 cities, which seems like a lot, but given how big our country is, we'd like to be able to get into more cities. We hope that these local chapters will be run by a volunteer president who will get the tools from us, and we will be supplying all the information and anything that's required for a local chapter to be run, and that people can just show up and either have a social event happening. It might be a fundraiser, it might be an educational program, but it'll be a way for you to interact with other people in a live forum. And so I would say, if you're interested, and if you're not interested, still sign up for our newsletter, because we might have something that be of interest to you. And advocacy, as you've heard many times here already tonight, is, it's just showing up. It really is just showing up here tonight is part of advocacy. So thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much, Shirley. And now we welcome Daniel King, Advocacy and Policy Associate with the National Headache Foundation.
Hi,
Take it away,
everyone.
Daniel.
This is my first Retreat Migraine. I'm sorry it's in this capacity via Zoom, but I'm really glad to be here, and I found the whole 5 days to be amazing. At the National Headache Foundation, we have 4 pillars to our mission. Awareness, like many other organizations, increasing awareness among the general public, with insurance companies and among government entities. Education, we serve as a premier educational resource for the general public, but also healthcare providers and for the media. Research, we have a decades-long history of funding critical headache and migraine studies. And advocacy, we take part in a number of the initiatives already mentioned here: Miles for Migraine, Headache on the Hill, the Headache and Migraine Policy Forum, but we also have a few of our own initiatives as well. One thing I like to point out that we offer, not so much advocacy, just in general, is our NHF helpline. You can phone in or send us an email. We can answer general questions. We can't get into specifics as far as recommending treatments, things like that. There's ethics violations, obviously. We can help you find a provider who specializes in headache medicine. And for those who cannot use our website for accessibility reasons, we can give you access to our educational materials. We can mail you out our educational brochures and our magazines, which are all free of charge. Migraine University is a program I manage currently. It's geared toward providing resources for young people, the 18 to 23 age group, who are living with headache disorders and migraine disease while going through college. Now, how do we do that? We start by publishing the personal stories of undergrads, but also graduates and recent graduates. We're also incorporating doctorate students and things like that. We exhibit at health and wellness fairs on college campuses. Right now, we're sort of stuck with Zoom calls, so we've been centered around the Chicagoland area, but we are reaching out to the Big Ten schools. And one thing you can do if your child is at university and is living with migraine disease and is looking for outreach, you can invite us to speak at a wellness fair if they're offered. You can also donate on the right. Donate to help us distribute our migraine toolkits. These are self-treatment kits. In the event of attack, the kids can utilize the ice pack, the eye mask, the earplugs. There's also a medical identification card. And another way that we can advocate with this Migraine University program, and you can participate in this as well, if you have children who are going to college or are in college, is advocate for them for accommodations. And don't take no for an answer. You can go to either the institution itself or to your individual professors. You might have better luck with individual professors. Just a recommendation. Now, I assume Cindy will talk about this in the next few minutes with US Pain, with their pain support groups, but we're offering, like many organizations, the headache and migraine pain support groups. So we're recruiting patient advocates, we're providing financial support to go through the US pain training. We're securing venues for meetings. That's a little on hold because of the pandemic. So we're doing Zoom. We're inviting guest speakers, but we're also promoting the group meetings through our social media platforms and our website. And on the right is an example of a meeting just before the pandemic, sadly, that I had organized in the Detroit metropolitan area. This is, I think if Retreat Migraine has taught us all anything, it's that our stories have tremendous power, and those stories can empower others and grow our wonderful community in so many ways. So you can go to headaches.org/share your story about living with headache disorders and migraine disease. We accept both written and video blogs, and we publish these widely on the NHS website and social media. Now, this is a program we're really excited about. It is not yet released. I can tell you it has been released to a healthcare company with over 25,000 employees, and we've found great success with it already. But this is going to be Work Migraine. This is going to be a series of online educational modules specifically designed for those living and working with migraine disease, but also their employers, and this is critical. It's going to be accompanied by a weekly e-newsletter also. And our goal is to expand the advocacy efforts by empowering employees to become their own advocates at work specifically and reduce discrimination because of this disabling disease. But also employers can learn about the negative effects that migraine has on their employers and their workplaces, including decreased morale and the loss of productivity. And like I said, it's already been rolled out. We're hopefully going to be able to roll it out beginning next year, 2021, to the general public. That's a picture of me at our recent gala, which was via Zoom. We just celebrated 50 years. We take great pride in being the oldest organization working for the betterment of the headache and migraine community. You can email me or call. That's my direct phone number. But please visit our website, headaches.org. You can subscribe to our monthly newsletter. Once again, access those educational resources, find a provider, a headache specialist, watch our webinars, and we just released our Heads Up podcast weekly on iTunes, Spotify, and other listening platforms. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Welcome to the Retreat Migraine family.
Thank you.
We're happy to have you here. And last but certainly not least, we will now be hearing from Cindy Steinberg, National Director of Policy and Advocacy with the U.S. Pain Foundation.
Thanks a lot, Megan. It's great to be among all these terrific advocacy leaders and see all the opportunities for advocacy because, you know, as everyone has said, your voice really matters. U.S. Pain Foundation is a little different than most of the organizations here, only because we focus not only on migraine, but all conditions that leave people living with chronic pain from both the conditions and also, you know, serious injuries. This is kind of a map of all of our programs. They fall into kind of direct support, awareness and empowerment, education, and then you know, what we traditionally think of as advocacy or government affairs and policy. So Pain Connection support groups have been mentioned by Daniel. Thanks, Daniel. Pain Connection is a program of U.S. Pain Foundation that is focused on direct support. And there is leader training. So everything in yellow here are opportunities for you as individuals with migraine to get involved in our programs. So you can get a scholarship to one of our leader training programs. We have about 20 some groups that are up running in different parts of the country. And now our groups have all gone to Zoom. And so you can be anywhere and participate. Pain Connection programs also have a phone support, that there are 5 phone calls a month. And now we've additionally started something called your toolkit. And these are patient toolkits are programs of people that do all different types of therapy for people living with pain and gives you an opportunity to kind of try it on Tuesday evenings. So if you go to our website, you'll find out more about these toolkit programs called Building Your Toolkit. We also have a pediatric program for both teens and kids with pain of all types, again, including headaches. We've got parent groups, groups for kids, and then these large retreats that we do. And then our awareness and empowerment programs. The Invisible Project is one of our flagship projects that's been around for several years. And this, like many other people have talked about, focuses on individual stories, individual case studies of people that have been affected by pain. And we have professional photographers follow people around and take pictures of what their lives are like to make the invisible visible. We all live with invisible diseases, and people that really don't understand what people go through. There's a very sort of high glossy magazine that goes with the program, and it has its own website as well. So if you look up Invisible Project on the web, you'll see the many, many programs that we've done as part of the project. We participate, of course, in Pain Awareness Month in September, and also Migraine Headache Awareness Month, and have lots of activities during those months that you can participate in. Also, every year during November, we pick a theme and then do a lot of educational programming on that theme. So this year it's neuromodulation for pain. And if you go to our website, you will be able to participate in any of these webinars and learn more about neuromodulation. We also have Twitter chats and Facebook Lives, and all through the month on the theme. And then, as other people have talked about, we have an ambassador network. You can apply to be an ambassador on our website. We have about 1,500 or so ambassadors in all 50 states around the country who get involved in various trainings and sort of more activities than sort of the general public activities, and just gives you a chance to have a bigger voice. So our education programs, I've talked a little about some of them. We have these pep talk webinars all through the year on various topics. My pain plan is something that we did this year for Pain Awareness Month, where people could go learn about all different ways to treat their particular pain and develop their own program that they could then print out and take with them to their doctors for discussion about possible therapies they might want to try. And we're going to keep that live, so you can still develop your own pain plan by going to the US Pain website and clicking on My Pain Plan. So any of these activities are free and open to anybody living with pain. So again, if you go to our website, you can sign up for all of these webinars. We also have a newsletter that you can then get notices about these webinars, and we do frequently do alerts and things about programs that you're eligible for. And then finally, the advocacy area where I spend most of my time is focused on government affairs and policy related things to advance really pain care for everybody living with pain in the whole country. We have state activities, so we do get involved in individual state bills that are moving through legislatures, and we let people know about those on our website and ways to get involved if you're in any state. There's always an opportunity to get involved at the state level to advocate for better pain care. And also state activities involve testifying at hearings. We teach people how to testify at hearings for bills or attend particular advisory group or commission meetings where you can have your voice heard. In federal activity, we are heavily involved in the Hill. We do participate on Headache on the Hill. At federal activities also involve writing into comment periods and testifying even at agencies. So there's opportunities to testify at the FDA. If you're interested in participate in comment periods at CDC, CMS, all the government health agencies, HHS, have opportunities to have your voice heard if you're a patient. Our advocacy trainings are something I mentioned before, and we've been doing these every year. We generally have a large summit a year where we bring people in. And we usually train about 40 people at once. They're usually like a weekend long training. This has now moved online. And that all led up to, on June 11th, a virtual lobby day where we had individuals make appointments with their lawmakers or participate in phone calls, emails, tweets to encourage our lawmakers to read and get familiar with the Pain Management Task Force report, which was an HHS report on pain that we've put a lot of advocacy into, and asked for hearings and other recommendations in that report to be funded. And then we have action alerts, again, letting people know about opportunities to write in comments, to speak at hearings, etc. So this is just a slide from some of the advocacy training that I do, and people here have talked about this. Advocacy is really the act or the process of supporting a cause and turning your passion into action, speaking out about injustices we see to really make positive change. As you heard before, we can all make a difference, and we really can. I've seen so many times when individuals have changed major policies that affect lots and lots of people. As President Obama once said, you've got to get in the arena. Democracy is not a spectator sport. There really is strength in numbers. We can be much more effective if we work together. So here are some examples of advocacy opportunities we've all engaged in. In the middle is Headache on the Hill from just this last February that I participated in with some other headache advocates. It was a great day, as Katie had mentioned earlier, and there is Representative McGovern, who is a congressman from Massachusetts, who we met with. In the upper left-hand corner are two advocates, patient advocates, testifying at a hearing in Massachusetts on a particular bill that we had worked on. So I have a bit of a training that I do for giving people tips about how to testify, and lots of people have done that and now are able to testify and have done an incredible job. Up in the right-hand corner is myself and a woman named Debbie Page, who's also one of our patient advocates, speaking at a commission hearing in Massachusetts at the State House. And then bottom picture there is Ed Coughlin, who used to be the editor of the National Pain Report. He's since retired, but he came to our summit last year, and we're teaching people, how to write your story, how to make your story really engaging and concise. And then finally, on the right-hand side is the day I told you about, our Advocacy Day, our virtual Advocacy Day that was part of our training this year, and it took place on June 11th. So if you want to learn more about our programs, just go to uspainfoundation.org. And thanks for the opportunity to tell about US Pain Foundation and be part of this event.
I just want to thank everybody again for being here. I think the fact that we had so many presenters just speaks volumes about the community and how many opportunities there really are for us to get involved.
Inspired by Retreat Migraine to do more, many of the attendees asked what's next and how can I make a difference? Thankfully, CHAMP's participating organizations have a plethora of programs available for patients to volunteer and become advocates. Many of these organizations convened in an advocacy Zoom session to share their programs, events, and ways for attendees to get involved. Retreat Migraine meant so much to so many people living with migraine disease and their caregivers. It gave them hope for the future, embraced them into a strong and resilient community, and empowered them as advocates to speak out and make a difference. Our coalition is working together to solve the challenge of migraine and headache diseases and support patients wherever they are on their patient journey. None of this would have been possible without the generous support of our sponsors, who helped us bring Retreat Migraine to life digitally this year and support hope, community, and advocacy at such an important time.